What a pitching duel this afternoon in Milwaukee. Aaron Harang making his Braves debut, going against Matt Garza, who was making his Brewers debut. Both pitchers had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning.
Emory leads NYU coming into the second half, 46-35, and this is just the beginning of an incredibly important weekend here for the Eagles.
Coming out of this first half, you're down 1-0, you're home. What are you telling your team going into the locker room?
Well, I mean, we're going to make a change immediately.
And welcome back, folks. Time now for our Georgia Best Chevy Sunday conversation. In our third and final installment with Herschel Walker, the former Bulldog Heisman Trophy winner and Celebrity Cook-Off champion discusses what wasn't necessarily the breakfast of champions, but it was a diet that worked for him. Now today we're going to be keeping a very close eye on freshman pitcher Brittany File. You can see her on the mound right behind me. Yesterday she tossed a complete game shutout, allowing just 4 hits and striking out 16 girls, which we've come to find out is the second highest individual game total in school history.
Great free kick by Danny Barrera to give you that 1-0 lead in the first half. What's the strategy going into the second half? We're in Indianapolis for game 1 of this 3-game series between the Hawks and the Pacers. Here we go in the first quarter. Paul Millsap for a big 3. It's good, and he draws the foul on George. Atlanta takes the lead 10-7. Second quarter, George behind the back drives into the lane. Good for 2. Pacers take the lead by 1. Nice steal here. Good hands by Jeff Teague. Here he comes. He puts it up, and Corver is there to follow up right at the buzzer. Hawks tie it up going into the half. Back in it in the third quarter. Nice D here by Evan Turner, but Teague backs it up, lets it loose, it flies, and it's good for 3. Hawks up 67-58. Millsap again for 3, and it's good. Atlanta pulling away here, 80-62 in the last 2 minutes of the third quarter. Hawks take this one in convincing fashion, 101-93. Solid win for Atlanta here in Game 1 versus the Pacers, and they'll be back at it for Game 2 on the 22nd.
Less than 24 hours after Julio Teheran threw a 3-hit shutout in a 1-0 Braves win, the Phillies responded with a 1-0 win of their own. Phillies starter A.J. Burnett kept the Braves batters guessing in the 7 innings he was on the mound. Burnett allowed just 3 hits and struck out 5. As for Braves starter Alex Wood, he threw the first complete game in 15 career starts and becomes the 10th Braves starter in the first 15 games of the season to allow 1 run or less. Here's his lone mistake of the game, though. The 2-out single to Ben Revere in the 8th inning brings home Dominic Brown for the only run of the game. The Braves fall 1-0 and have their 5-game winning streak come to an end. Coming up next for the Braves, the first of 3 games in New York starting tomorrow night. Most so-called draft experts have Bulldogs quarterback Aaron Murray as a mid-round selection in next month's NFL draft. But although Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan hasn't spent much time breaking down Murray's game film, he says he's been seen enough of his games to know that he will succeed in the NFL.
I think Aaron Murray is a great player, and one of the things, when you're watching sports, they would kind of knock him because he never won big games, and I thought that was crazy because he won a ton of big games. When you play in the SEC, every week's a big game. And I think he'll do great. I think he'll transition very well into the NFL, and wish him the best.
A week ago, in his 29th appearance at the Masters, Fred Couples finished with yet another top 20 performance. Not bad for someone who's 54, and this week, Freddie is teeing it up at TPC Sugarloaf in the Greater Gwinnett Championship. Couples has played in 3 Champions Tour events this year, and of the 3, he has a win, a 2nd-place finish, and a 5th-place finish. That's 3 events and 3 top 5 finishes.
I played the course today, like you said, for the first time in a while. It's in great shape. And it's a hard course. I wasn't expecting 40-degree weather. I played pretty well today in that weather, so I look forward to playing tomorrow and playing really good golf.
The United States and European Palmer Cup teams were announced today, and of the 20 players selected, 2 have local ties. Oglethorpe's Anthony McCaglia and Georgia Tech's Ollie Schneiderjans, seen here, will both represent the USA, and Schneiderjans, who is the 6th-ranked amateur player in the world, was an automatic pick based on points earned.
McLean Bradley suffered a season-ending injury early last month, but it's not one that you can see. As a running back for the Westminster High School varsity football team, McLean says he was running with the ball when he collided with the other team's cornerback. It was a hard hit to the right side of his head, and he says although he sat out for one play, he played the rest of the game, and he didn't notice that there was something seriously wrong until the next night.
I really didn't feel it the next morning, but later on that night, I started getting really dizzy and nauseous, and a couple days later I threw up once, and that's when I had to stay in the dark room for a long time.
McLean's younger brother Christian took me into the dark room, which is a small secret room with no windows in the Bradleys' house. Christian also spent time in the darkroom this fall when he too suffered a concussion a week after his brother during head-to-head contact playing football on Westminster's JV squad.
After I got hit, when I got up, I felt very dizzy and nauseous, and I had a sharp pain in the front of my head where I got hit, and also my head was throbbing a lot.
Researchers here at Emory Healthcare are partnering with researchers at Georgia Tech to test the use of a new concussion screening test that can be administered on the sidelines. It's called Detect, and it's a screening test made up of a tablet computer with headphones and goggles. When an athlete logs a hard hit on the sensor in their helmet, they simply step off the field and take a quick cognitive test on the device. Researchers say if the device proves useful after further study, it could seriously change sideline treatment of concussions.
What we want to do is provide a bigger and more expanded toolbox for our athletic trainers and our medical staff on the sideline. They already do a wonderful job, but a lot of the tools that they currently have are pretty subjective. We've now provided an objective measure to help the sideline medical personnel determine if a player is concussed or needs to stay out from further play.
Westminster head athletic trainer Donna Hayes says that this new technology could help her tremendously because right now the current diagnostic tools and protocols don't always help her recognize subtle concussion symptoms.
It's so difficult to kind of manage because there's not a cookbook recipe for this. Every athlete is totally different. So we have a protocol that we try to, we follow, but it may be implemented in different ways for each athlete.
Espinosa and her team are planning to continue studying the use of Detect among athletes like McLean and Christian, and she hopes the study will prove itself useful in the near future. Sam Bleiweis, Emory News Now.